That 8-year-old boy probably never saw what was coming. He was taking his treatment. When his mother came in there and started swinging that bat, he really didn't have a chance.
Setting the right example is important to Milwaukee mom Elise Lina. In 1997, she runs a strict household, bringing up her 2 sons, Joe, 9, and John Jr., 8, to obey their parents and the Lord.
May the Lord make us true.
Her faith was probably the cornerstone of her life. She was devoutly religious, and she raised her children to be religious as well.
34-year-old Elise and her accountant husband, John, are respected and active members of their church community.
They were heavily involved in the church. She was on church committees. She was a volunteer at church. She sang in the choir. She was known at the Catholic school where her sons, went as a good mother.
Father.
But all is not as it seems. Elise has a dark secret. She is a troubled soul who hears voices.
Elise heard voices in her head, known as auditory hallucinations. That type of hallucination, voices, they're not fun, they're not kind. The voices tell the person horrible things about themselves and sometimes about other people.
And the voices have a grim message for Elise.
Her delusion was that she was a bad mother. She was psychotic.
Elise believes the power of prayer will solve her problems. But faith alone can't help. She's suffering from a serious mental illness, schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder, thought disorders, generally emerge when the individual is in their late teens to early to mid-20s. Elise appeared completely normal until she was in her mid-20s, and then the psychoses took over.
Elise's husband, John, does everything he can to support his wife.
Friends and neighbors reported that they thought Elise was perfectly normal. And there were some days I'm sure she probably did come across that way. Her own husband didn't know how really sick she was.
Please, I promise it'll...
Boys, hey, go make the call, okay?
Please.
Without her medication, her behavior becomes so erratic by 1994 that John decides he must leave Elise for his son's sake.
Please. John.
For a time, the boys had gone to live with their grandparents because of their mother's instability. So there were obviously signs of great trouble within the family and within the home.
Are you okay?
But marriage is a sacred vow, and after a year living apart, the devout Christians try again.
Are you taking your pills?
And Elise is taking her pills.
I'm about to take one here. Do you want to talk?
Sure.
After they reunite, they had a couple of good years where it looked like the medication was working, the treatment was working, and that they would be a successful family after all.
But soon Elise stops her meds, and the voices are back.
Lord, I pray.
These are very, very strong medications that do help, but they don't work if they're left in the bathroom. The meds have to be taken every day.
But when this mom's not taking her pills,
Lord, I pray.
bad things will happen.
Elise did not have a history of violence. She did not have a history of outbursts or anything that would indicate what would happen next.
Listen to you. I don't listen.
Elise didn't want to take the medication. She didn't like the way it made her feel. And this is typical of a lot of schizophrenics. They start taking the medication, and then they think, well, I'm well now. I don't need to take it.
August 26th, 1997. Elise washes up after the evening meal. Her two boys have gone their separate ways. 8-year-old John Jr. plugs into his asthma treatment machine in the basement. 9-year-old Joe retires to his room.
This was an idyllic scene. It was sort of at first this normal middle American summer evening.
But it's not. Elise believes she's receiving divine messages.
Her religious faith spun into delusions at the time of the murder.
Elise's delusion was that she had to kill the children so their souls would go to heaven. Apparently, her delusion also told her she needed to do it with a baseball bat.
The most vulnerable child, little John, is attacked first.
That 8-year-old boy probably never saw what was coming. He was taking his treatment when his mother came in there and started swinging that bat. He really didn't have a chance.
Elise?
The father hears thumping sounds coming from the basement. He has to take time to rush in, and she's still hitting her son with the bat.
What are you doing? Oh, God!
He takes that bat from her, holds her down.
Struggling to hold on to his wife, John calls for help.
But while he was calling 911, she took the bat and rushed upstairs and started attacking her second son, Joe. Who would think, your mother who had just prepared dinner for you would suddenly try to murder you with a baseball bat. It doesn't get more horrific than that.
For Elise, beating the boys with a baseball bat was a way to dispatch them to heaven. The blood didn't matter.
This time, John manages to stop his wife. Both boys are rushed to the hospital. 8-year-old John Jr. can't be saved. He dies of skull fractures.
He would have lost consciousness very rapidly. Death would have taken a matter of minutes after that. In all likelihood, he would have been dead 10 or 15 minutes later.
Miraculously, 9-year-old Joe survives. His father's actions save his life.
His father made it upstairs in time and was able to wrestle his wife off of the boy.
Fortunately, her second son did not receive as many blows as her first son. He probably only received 2 or 3, maybe 4 blows, enough to cause skull fracture and some underlying brain injury.
There is no question about who commits these crimes. Police arrest Elise at the scene.
I think this is the most cold-hearted crime that could be committed for a mother who brings a child into this world to be capable of murdering that child, and in such a heinous manner.
Some psychologists and psychiatrists would say that society is safe from Elise. Maybe they're right, and maybe they're wrong. But I would not let Elise babysit for me.